Hello students, in your 12th standard you have learned this particular concept which is called as differentiation. Now what is differentiation? It is the process of finding a derivative. And what's a derivative? It is a rate of change of a function with respect to another function. So if I take x and y as the two variables, so this dy by dx is called as the first order derivative, and the process of finding this derivative is called as differentiation. So students, in your first year engineering semester 1, the subject that you have engineering mathematics, here you are going to take forward that particular concept and you are going to learn something called as successive differentiation. So students, I welcome you all. My name is Pankaj Lade and we are going to start with a very important topic from engineering mathematics which is called as successive differentiation. Now, I'm going to first begin with the definition of derivative and then I will be explaining you the concept of successive differentiation. Now, you must have learned dy by dx. Now, when I say dy by dx, what I actually mean by this? Dy by dx is nothing but d by dx of y. So this d by dx is called as the operator of derivative. You are telling here to differentiate this variable y with respect to the variable x, and you are differentiating it for one time. Hence this is called as the first order derivative. So if I have y is equal to f of x, if y is equal to f of x is any function, if y equal to f of x is any function, now very important, this particular function has to be a continuous function. If the function is continuous, then definitely it is differentiable. This concept you have learned in your 12th standard. So if y equal to f of x is any continuous function, then it is differentiable, and then differentiable, when I say, it means that dy by dx will exist. So d by dx of y, or we also call it as f1 of x. Now students, this is very important. In your lower standards you are reading this as f dash of x. Now it is not f dash, it is called as f1 of x. So dy by dx, or you can say f1 of x, or I can also write it as y1, the number 1, the real number 1, y1, or I can also write it as y with a 1 on its head. Every single term that I've written mean the same thing. So this is called as what? This is called as the first order derivative. So dy by dx, or I can say f1 of x, or I can say y1 or another y1, everything mean the exact same thing. This is called as first order derivative. Likewise students, now if I write d square y upon dx square, or I can say this is f2 of x, or I can write it as y2, or I can say y, this is Roman number now, y2. So all these things again mean the exact same thing, and they are all second order derivative. Now this is called as second order derivative. Likewise students, I can write d cube y upon dx cube. So this is f3 of x, or I can say y3, or I can also write y3 like this. So all the things again mean the same thing. This is called as the third order derivative. It simply means you want to differentiate a particular function 3 number of times. Likewise students, if I go further, I can write now d raised to 4y upon dx raised to 4, or I write this as f4 of x. This is y4, or I can write y with a 4 on its head. Again, all of the things mean the exact same thing. This time, this is called as the fourth order derivative. So in this way, if I keep on proceeding further, I will reach on the nth derivative. So what do I mean by nth derivative? It simply means you want to differentiate a function y n number of times, d raised to ny upon dx raised to n. So this is called as the nth order derivative. So f raised to n of x, or I can write yn, or you can say yn. So this is what the nth order derivative means. Now, most of the students I have seen, when I say nth order derivative, they actually mean it as the last derivative. Now, this is a very important concept you want to understand. Nth order derivative does not mean the last derivative. It simply means any derivative of the given particular sequence. It can be the 15th derivative. It can be the 27th derivative. It can be 51st derivative. It can be 99th derivative, 158th derivative. So it can be any derivative of the given sequence. So nth order derivative does not mean it is the last derivative. It means any particular derivative of the entire sequence. So now what do you mean by nth order derivative? It simply means you want to differentiate a particular function n number of times. I'll take an example. Let's take an example and understand what is successive differentiation. So students, if I say I have a function, say y is equal to x cube plus say sin x. So now I can say y1, it means the first order derivative. So you differentiate this using the basic concepts, the basic rules of derivatives. You already know what the functions, when they differentiate, what the answer that you get. So x raised to n, you know it is n x raised to n minus 1. So x cube when differentiated will give us 3x square, and sin x will give us cos x. So that's y1, the first order derivative. If I proceed further, I get now y2. So y2, the second order derivative, it gives me the answer as 6x, and the derivative of cos x is going to become minus sin x. I proceed further and get y3. So I get the derivative of 6x as 6, and the derivative of again sin x is going to become cos x, and in between you have a minus sign. So are you observing that here you need to know your basic concepts of derivative very well. So make sure that you first understand the derivatives that you have learned in your lower standards. So students, derivative of 6x, it is 6, there are negative sign, and derivative of sin x is cos x. If you proceed further, you get y5, derivative of 6 is going to be 0, isn't it? So 0 minus derivative of cos x is minus sin x. So this becomes plus sin x. So that's y5. I can keep on proceeding further and get the derivatives in the similar fashion. So there will be a point where I'll reach somewhere it is called as the nth order derivative. So here in this particular chapter, you have to find the nth order derivatives of some standard functions. For instance, sin x, cos x, x raised to m, and so on. So students, here again we are going to list we are going to develop one entire list of standard formulas of different functions. So I hope that you are very clear with the concept of nth order derivative. Now let's proceed ahead with the formulas of some standard functions.